The Employee Retention Credit from the IRS is the last major COVID relief program. Claim up to $26,000 for each employee you had on payroll. This is Marty Stewart with Disaster Loan Advisors. The IRS tax refund is newfound money for your business. Let us help you navigate the ERC program with flexible options and working together. You can relax and have peace of mind that you're in good hands. Stay safe, stay compliant, and keep more of your refund. Take the next step and schedule a free ERC consultation call with us today. All about the Employee Retention Credit Startup. The Employee Retention Credit, ERC, has saved the lives of many pandemic-affected businesses. The Federal CARES Act's passage resulted in the ERC's enactment in March 2020, where the primary motive was to target startup businesses. When the drop in sales happens, companies that had a decline in sales in 2020 or 2021 compared to 2019 are eligible for a payroll tax credit of up to $7,000 per employee every quarter. Since the ERC was implemented with CARES Act to help several startup businesses, the qualifying standards have changed, and they have changed again with the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, IIJA, passage. What is the Employee Retention Credit? The ERC is one of the most popular tax incentives put out by Congress to aid companies in the pandemic. But unfortunately, when the CARES Act introduced the ERC, middle market employers paid little attention since they were more interested in Paycheck Protection Program, PPP loans. However, bigger businesses, those with more than 500 workers, were often ineligible for PPP loans and had to rely on ERC benefits if they paid their workers to take time off. ERC for recovery startup businesses. Since the credit's establishment in April 2020 under the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security, the Employee Retention Tax Credit Program has undergone constant changes. In addition, the ARPA and the CAW Act 2021 have changed the termination date of the ERTC program many times. A recovery startup that is no longer required to close its doors or reduce its gross receipts to be eligible for the ERC in the third and fourth calendar quarters of 2021 is considered a qualified employer under the amended notice. Employee Retention Credit Startup in 2021. A recovery startup business is the one that started moving on with the company on or after February 15, 2020, aims to keep average yearly gross receipts around $1 million, employs a person or people other than 50% owners. The employer is not eligible for the ERC. Notably, ERC was abolished for most firms in Q4 2021 by the Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act, which was approved in November 2021. Recovery startup businesses, however, were given a special exemption and would still be accepted in the fourth quarter of 2021. Do I qualify for the Employee Retention Credit for Startup Business? To determine whether a taxpayer is a recovery startup businesses, RSBs, the average yearly gross receipts for the 3 tax years ending with the tax year preceding the calendar quarter for which the ERTC is determined should not exceed $1 million. Suppose your company meets the requirements mentioned above. You are still eligible if you have one or more workers and do not meet the criteria for the ERC under the partial suspension or gross revenue decline. The maximum credit for Q3 and Q4 2021 is $7,000 per employee, up to $50,000 each quarter. How to claim the Employee Retention Credit for Startup Business. Most significantly, the IIJA restricted access to the ERTC to those taxpayers who were RSBs in the fourth quarter of 2021. The ERTC is thus unavailable to taxpayers who would have had complete or partially closed operations or a decrease in gross income in the fourth quarter of 2021. In addition, a company must satisfy a different set of requirements from the standard ERTC guidelines to be eligible to become an RSB. A business or commerce was launched after February 15, 2020. Its average annual gross revenues are less than $1 million for the 3 tax year period beginning with the tax year before the calendar quarter for which the ERTC is calculated. Due to a whole or partial suspension of activities or a decrease in gross receipts, it is otherwise not a qualified employer. This prerequisite is no longer applicable as of the fourth quarter of 2021. The credit amount permitted for any calendar quarter for an eligible employer that is an RSB shall not exceed $50,000 for earnings earned after June 30, 2021, but before January 1, 2022, the RSB credit could be claimed. Employee Retention Credit Startup Updates. Recovery startup businesses were given a special exemption and would still be accepted in the fourth quarter of 2021. But notably, ERC was abolished for most firms in Q4 2021 by the Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act, which was approved in November 2021. So while this could be an important choice for some new businesses, it won't necessarily be the best choice for everyone. Applying the clarified standards for firms not in existence in 2019 may allow a business that started in 2020 that satisfies the two conditions mentioned above to maximize its advantage. In addition, this enables the gross revenue decline criteria qualification to be determined by comparing the quarterly gross receipts for the quarters of 2021 and 2020. As a result, it's critical to get advice from a professional to choose the best course of action for your business. This is fantastic news for businesses that started operating a company or conducting commerce after February 15, 2020, yearly average gross receipts of little more than $1 million, hired a person or people other than 50% owners, not qualified for the ERTC under the partial, complete suspension of operations or fall in the gross receipts category. Common questions asked related to the Employee Retention Credit Startup. Can I claim the Employee Retention Credit if my business started in 2021 for salaries earned after June 30, 2021, but before January 1, 2022? A recovery starting firm may still be able to claim the ERC. In addition, by submitting a relevant adjusted employment tax return by the time specified in the corresponding form instructions, qualified employers may still claim the ERC for earlier quarters. Do startups qualify for the ERTC? An excellent approach for startup companies to be eligible for the ERTC is recovery startup businesses. Most recently, only taxpayers who will be RSBs in the fourth quarter of 2021 will be allowed access to the ERTC under the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. How do you calculate the Employee Retention Credit for a recovery startup business? The non-refundable ERC part for the first and second quarters of 2021 is 6.4% of the salary. This is equivalent to the Social Security tax paid by employers. If these startups paid $10,000 or more in Q3 divided by Q4, they might save $7,000 on a tax credit. $50,000 can be spent on this per calendar quarter. Startup businesses, presuming you have 7 or 8 people, are looking at a $100,000 tax credit on payroll taxes, subject to meeting all other standards, with 2 quarters to utilize this credit. Therefore, the most accessible approach to determining your eligibility and submitting an application for the ERTC is to get in touch with your CPA. Conclusion and summary related to the Employee Retention Credit Startup. For most startups, ERC has a termination date that was retroactively modified to September 30, 2021, with the passage of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act on November 15, 2021. However, recovery startup businesses can still take advantage of the credit if they pay qualifying salaries by December 31, 2021. It's financial assistance from the government to help owners of small businesses with 1 or more employees deal with the effects of COVID-19. In addition, startup businesses can benefit from employee retention credits to help recover. The credits can provide much-needed financial stability and help keep employees on board during a crisis. As you can see, navigating the Employee Retention Credit Program is very complex and confusing to try to figure it out on your own. Even on the IRS ERC FAQ pages, it says, "This page is not current." There have been several years of updates and changes to this IRS tax credit already, including 4 congressional acts and 5 updated guidances from the IRS, totaling over 3,900 pages. Who has time to sift through all that information, let alone decipher some of the confusing language and rulings? In order to stay compliant with current IRS ERC rules and regulations, expert specialized help is highly recommended. Even if your business received an SBA PPP loan, you are still eligible for the ERC credit. If you think you may not qualify, it's worth a conversation to see if your business does. Let us assist you with a complete employee retention credit process, or if you might be stuck on filling out the IRS 941X forms correctly on your own. We are here to help. Stay safe, stay compliant, keep more of your refund. Email us at support@disasterloanadvisors.com or call us toll-free at 877-463-9777 extension 3. Or visit us on the web at www.disasterloanadvisors.com/ERC for complete details on the Employee Retention Credit Program for your business.